Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rochelle, and today is going to be my first day of soil blocks for 2022. You're not sure what the soil blocks are. They are these little contraptions here. Think of it like a cookie cutter, where you smash it into a bunch of soil and then you squeeze it like this, and they haven't been squeezed in a while. Anyways, so yeah, you squeeze it like this and poof, it plops out all these cute little soil blocks. So I have two sizes. This is the smallest size. Each square is 3/4 of an inch square. And then I have the larger size, which has 4 2-inch soil blocks on it. Now there is an in-between size, which is, it's the same size on the outside, and yet it has 5 soil blocks inside. I think they're 1.5 inches or something like that. Don't quote me on it because I don't have one. Now this larger 2-inch size, when you squeeze it out, you see it has these squares. It also has an option to have these little round knobs on it, which is perfect for leaving little dimples for your seeds, but I have this one on it for now because when my little tiny plants outgrow this size, they are the exact same size as this. So I can just pot them up. By the way, they're kind of squeaky. I can just pot them up from the tiny size and it just sits right inside the larger one. Roll footage. So that's a quick little clip from last year, so you can see how easy it is to pot things up. It is amazing. The thing I love about soil blocks is space saving. So how many, this is a small cafeteria tray. How many seedlings, how many squares do you think I can get on this tray? Stay tuned. So it's time to get soil blocking. So I fortunately found some soil that was not frozen solid, and I put it in the plastic bin. I took it inside the house and I put it in the microwave. So apparently it's a great way to get rid of fungus gnats. You can use the microwave or the oven, and I stuck it in the microwave for I think it's 2 minutes per kilogram. So you got to kind of do the math on it and make sure it gets nice and hot and steamy, and that way you're just killing off any fungus gnats that might be in there, because they are an absolute nightmare once you get them in the house with your seedlings. They're really, really hard to get rid of. So I'm out here. I am first off going to sift my soil. So last year I tried using different strainers I had in the house, and it took me forever and it was a pain. So this year I went up and I cut a piece of metal that we have. I believe it's like what you use under the flooring for like under tile. So you can get it in the hardware section. It's really cheap and you can use it for all kinds of projects. I've used it to block off bunnies from some of my other plants, but I just used it as a screen for sifting the soil. So fortunately it fit really nicely on top of the bin, and I put it on there, dump my soil out, and whoop, there it goes. Alrighty, because when you're using the soil blocks, especially the mini ones like I am using in this video, it really, if there's any sticks or kind of the larger pieces of bark or anything like that, it can kind of get jammed into the squares, and then you're not going to get nice shapes. They're not going to come out nicely. So you really want to make sure that it is nicely sifted and fine soil. So this method actually worked super fast. Like, I was so impressed. You can see the steam still coming off the soil, which felt really good because it was quite cold out. I mean, it was only 37 Fahrenheit, which isn't too bad. Like, it was pretty nice, but it was so windy, which is why I am doing a voiceover, because the microphone just could not keep up with the wind blowing through. So I just shook this little pan around and did some sifting on that, and it worked really well. So here we go. Shake, shake, shake. Okay, so next up, the next stage now we have our lovely sifted soil, is we are going to add the water. And I am just using straight up potting mix. I know a lot of people have these fancy recipes that have potting mix and compost and green sand, whatever that is, and all kinds of other things. But last year I discovered that it was just fine just using the straight up potty mix. I use Promix, and I'm using that again this year. I might try adding in some compost when I get to the point where I am making the larger soil blocks, but you know what? This worked just fine for me last year. So I went and pulled a little bit of the soil out to the side just in case I added too much water, and then I wouldn't have to like sift more soil in order to thicken it up a little bit. So you just want to add a little bit of water at a time. It does take a bit more water than you think it will. The consistency you're going for is like a nice packing sand. So picture you're at the the beach, and you got your sand bucket, and you want to make a nice little sand castle. That's the kind of the thickness, the consistency, the wetness that you need your soil to be. And you just keep stirring it in, and then you want to do the squish test. So you're going to grab a nice big handful of the soil, and you're going to squeeze it, and you should see a bit of water coming out, and you want to make sure that it's going to keep its shape. So this looked pretty good. I was surprised that I got the consistency so quickly on and then dropped it, but you know what? Hey, no worries. So we got the consistency, and so we are ready to go right into making our soil blocks. So try to get everything ready ahead of time if you can. Make sure everything's clean. That was clean at some point. It doesn't really look like it now. But this is just an average cafeteria size tray. And so what the heck am I doing? I don't know. So I'm looking at my trays. I'm organizing my trays. They're blowing all around. It was so windy out there. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how windy it was. I can't believe all this stuff didn't blow away. So you want to just make sure that you have a nice flat container, something that's going to hold water, because when you water your soil blocks, you pour water into the container and then let it soak up. You don't pour water actually right onto the soil blocks, or these little ones will disintegrate. And then when you smash it down in, you want to make sure you have something flat like that to just to smooth out the bottom and make sure it gets nice and squished. Here I am demonstrating how you want to make sure that you hold on to the black handle part, because if you hold on to the base of it as you squish down, you're going to actually squish the plunger part, and all your soil blocks are going to keep coming out while you're working it. It's kind of frustrating. It doesn't take long to figure out, though. A few tries and you're like, oh, that's why it keeps sliding out. No worries. So you can scrape the end off. Sometimes I use a trowel. Sometimes I use a scraper. Sometimes I use my hand, just whatever's on hand. You want to make it flat. Give it a nice press like that, just so that all the squares are going to be even. And then you just plunge it out right on the tray. Bam. 20 soil blocks. So fast, so easy. I was super excited. I've been looking forward to doing more soil blocks all winter long. I discovered these last year. I ordered them from Lee Valley, which was the only place I could find them in Canada at the time. I got free shipping on it, which is always nice, but they were sold out for so long because there was such a demand on them. These are stainless steel made in England by a family-run company. And I believe it's called Ladbroke, England. I can post a link down below to where I got it on Lee Valley. And I know that Lisa over on Gardener Supply also carries and sells the soil blocks if you're in the US. I know you can also buy them on Amazon and other places. There are knockoff versions. I have no idea how well they work or hold up if they're made as well as these. Like they look brand new. I had them all last year. They were in water and soil. They're super easy to clean. You just dip them into the bucket and clean them right off. They're really well made. And here I am just going to town on these soil blocks. So one of the main reasons I love these is because of the savings of not only my time, but the cost and the space, mainly the space, because I do live in a small townhouse. You can see like that's pretty much my entire yard behind me. And so I don't have a lot of room for storing seedlings, for starting them indoors. I have the one shelving unit that goes in front of my window with a handful of lights on it. And that's it. So for me, being able to put this many soil blocks on one tray was amazing. 140 seeds that can get started on here. And all I had to store over the winter were trays and the soil blocker. I didn't have to store tons and tons of all the big trays and little containers and cups. I didn't have to go out and buy any Jiffy Pete pots. I didn't have to deal with any of that. And honestly, could you have filled 140 traditional seed trays in that amount of time? I don't think so. Could you have held them all on one little tray that I can stick in my cabinet in front of the window? I don't think so. Soil blockers all the way.